lines are traditional ancestral territory and current homelands of several indigenous nations, including the Hupa, Karuk, Matol, Taloa, Wailaki, Wiyot, and Yurok. Most of us around the Humboldt Bay region are probably on Wiyot land, but if you're not on Wiyot land, please take a moment to consider whose land you are on. Our project partners are the McKinleyville community members of the McKinleyville Advisory Committee's Trails Group that brought their concerns about the need for multimodal access and safety to the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee and ultimately made this project happen. The County of Humboldt, with Tom Matson at the helm, is managing the project, which was funded by Caltrans. And that is through the Sustainable Communities Planning Grant Program. And as I mentioned, the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee helped facilitate many meetings and conversations. They also supported the grant application for this project. And we have Bonnie Oliver and Mary Burke with MCMAC here with us today, who will be in one of the breakout rooms. Mark Thomas and Associates are our consultants who will be developing the concept designs and a plan as the final product of this project. And we have Paul Martin and Jay Riddle from Mark Thomas here with us today, who are going to be presenting and also serving as small room facilitators. And as you already know, Redwood Community Action Agency has been working with the county and Mark Thomas to conduct outreach for this project and also to collect the public input. So I'm a projects coordinator with RCAA. Natalie Royal's handling the technology and Carla Avila is providing interpretation. We also have Matt Drummond, who is a breakout room, small room facilitator. So up on the screen now is today's agenda for the meeting. We're going to start here with some polls to gather a little bit of public input about the project, followed by the project goals and background information. Then we're going to get into sharing the existing conditions and issues within the project area. We also have an opportunity for virtual engagement of participants through more polling. And then we're going to go into the small breakout rooms and have smaller conversations where we'll be able to record the feedback that we receive from you. And then after the small groups, we're going to report out on what we heard and close the meeting with next steps. Here are some conversation guidelines to help us run this meeting smoothly. So let's be respectful of each other, speak one at a time, and share airtime. Please remember that all ideas have value. Stay on the agenda because we only have an hour and a half to get through a lot of information tonight. And please be patient with any technology issues and with each other. So thanks in advance for that. In case people have ideas or input on things that might not quite fit this discussion, we're going to put them in what we're calling the ice chest so that these ideas are kept fresh for Humboldt County Public Works to consider at another time. The goals of this project are to enhance safety and connectivity for all modes, integrate transportation and housing planning efforts, create a plan with concept designs, and develop recommendations with County Public Works for improvement and funding. And the reason why we're on this call tonight, this meeting, is so that the public has an opportunity to learn about the goals of the project, to see and discuss the conditions for walking and biking in McKinleyville, but also between McKinleyville and destinations to the south around Humboldt Bay. And the meeting is also providing opportunities to share ideas for safety improvements for all travel modes and understand your ideas and your input ideas, opportunities. So there's also a project website up on the screen that we'll put into the chat. And if you haven't visited the website yet, you can sign up for updates. And every time we update the website, you will be notified of those changes. So here you can see a progression of the project on a timeline. Several years ago, community members voiced their concerns about the need for improved non-motorized facilities to the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee. And so there was an application submitted to the Caltrans Sustainable Communities Planning Grant. And on the second attempt, the first time was not successful, but the second attempt was, and RCAA was hired by the county to conduct the outreach, and Mark Thomas and Associates were hired for development of concept designs and creation of the plan. So we've also developed a project task force in April of this year that's going to help guide the project. And we have had one meeting so far. We're going to be meeting again after this first round of public engagement. We've launched a community survey this month, and we also last week held our first outreach event, which were walking tours within the project area as a way to experience what pedestrians and cyclists experience on the ground every day. Tonight's our first community meeting, and then after this, we'll be reviewing all of the input we've received so far so that we can create draft concept designs for improvements, and that's going to happen over the winter. We'll have another opportunity in the spring to conduct a second round of community engagement activities. One of the things we're going to do is create a temporary infrastructure demonstration. So we're going to do a little pop-up that's going to provide opportunities for residents to see what potential improvements might look like on the ground in real life. So that's going to be really fun. And then we're going to host another community meeting after that to review the concept designs that were developed. Then we'll finalize after we receive input, create a final report. And once the report is final, we're going to have a document that's going to help us make this project competitive and shovel ready so that we can apply for implementation funding when we have that opportunity. The project area doesn't cover all of McKinleyville or Arcata, but here is a map of the project area. It extends from sort of the Giantoli Lane of Arcata, the Giantoli Lane area of Arcata, rather, up north to McKinleyville's western and central neighborhoods and business districts, just and north of Railroad Drive. So I'd like to take a moment just to remind anyone that may have arrived late that if you need Spanish translation, we have that option available. Recuerda que tenemos interpretación en español disponible. Haga clic abajo de tu pantalla en el icono del mundo circular si necesita interpretación. So now it's time to review the existing conditions of the project area. So I'm going to turn it over first to our consultants from Mark Thomas and Associates, who are going to be sharing usage, collision, and transit data within the project area. And I'll be advancing the slides for you.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. You can hear me okay?
You got it. Yep.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Martin. I work at an engineering firm called Mark Thomas. I focus on transportation planning and active transportation support to communities throughout the state. So I've been thrilled to be able to get to know the community in the area, and this project is a good opportunity for me to explore and really see the community and be able to share our expertise and try and help the community and the county come up with some solutions, as Jenny said, to lead towards implementation. So I'm going to go through a couple slides here. There's more photos and even some videos that Jenny's going to go through later. But we have some graphics on the screen to just talk through some of the base network information. So for example, a lot of communities, we start with what is the bikeway network? So on the map on the screen, you see existing and future or planned bikeways. The existing ones are solid lines or dash lines for future and planned bikeways. So you do see a different color scheme for the different lines on the bikeways. Right along Highway 101, there's a solid line that someone could cycle in the shoulder of the highway. It may not be the most attractive or comfortable for people, but it is feasible. And then along roadways where there's shoulders, maybe there's the opportunity to ride as well, such as on Central near School Road. So those are the red solid lines. And then a dashed red line would be a future where there would be cycling on a roadway, maybe in a shoulder or in a mixed use scenario. So Azalea Lane is a good example where there's no shoulder or striped bike lane. It's shown on the right with the dash red. Then there's other colors such as a blue striping along School Road, for example. There's a striped on-street bike lane. So the blue solid line is shown there. and then a blue dash line along Central north of Railroad. So those are lines on the map from a planning perspective. Someday it would be nice to make those things happen, and they just haven't been built or constructed just yet. And then lastly, there's the green line for an off-street trail, such as the Hammond Trail connections north of School Road, going by Hiller Park, and then other locations throughout the area. And then we also show some of the pedestrian facilities. There are plans for improvements on the north side of along Railroad, north of the town center. So this is just setting the basis a little bit for us on mapping out those type of network improvements and what's already planned within the community. All right, next slide. Something else our team has done is taken a look at where there's crash history within the community. And typically we'll look over a 5-year period and try and identify where crashes have happened based on published law enforcement data and records. So the state has a database that we can extract out all the 5 years of data and be able to see where those crashes occur and what the severity is that affect people walking and cycling. So on the screen in the legend, it shows the 5 years that was identified was between 2015 and 2019. So that goes all the way to December 31st, 2019. Typically, the most recent year lags a bit, so we don't have the 2020 data accessible to us. But you see different color coding, circles and squares, circles for bicycle collisions and squares for pedestrian collisions. And then the highest severity would be a fatality. So that red square is shown on 4 different locations here. So 2 of those were along Central, just south of School Road and near Bella Vista, where a pedestrian was hit by a motorist in the shoulder of Central Avenue. And then there were 2 locations on the south of fatalities along the highway on 101 directly, some sort of crossing or activity on the 101 there. And then, so there's the fatalities, but also severe injuries, and you certainly see the clustering of crashes along Central Avenue. So it starts to really amplify what probably most of the community recognizes is some sort of comfort and concerns about being able to walk and bicycle along Central. Next slide. We've worked with the transit agency to be able to identify the amount of riders using the transit system from Redwood Transit. So on this screen, we show that and convey that image with different sized dots based on where the bus stops are located. And typically it's along Central Ave, and then over by the high school, there's a route where the bus goes off of Central and is able to serve patrons over there as well. So the green dots is the ridership, the average daily ridership of the bus in the northbound direction, the bus traveling northbound. And then the blue is the bus as it travels southbound. So the dots are actually larger for the northbound direction. Typically, you might see it be about the same in both directions, but in this case, it happens to be higher over the day in the northbound direction for one reason or another. So you can imagine a scenario of someone takes the bus in the morning, maybe, or during the day sometime to go northbound, and then they're able to get a ride or find some other way to return to the south. That's why you get a little bit of a difference between the size of the dots. Next slide. And something we also take a look at is how heavy are the traffic volumes, the roadway motor vehicle volumes. So we do have data from Caltrans along the highway and North Bank, as well as the 299 or 299 going east into the canyon. So we've represented that based on the thickness of a line there, and the thickest part of 101 is really the crossing of the Mad River. And then as you go to the north, some of those volumes and car volumes really drop off as they use the interchanges and the ramps to access McKinleyville to and from. You get a sense those volumes there, and we are working to identify what the volumes, car volumes are along Central and roadways like School and Railroad as well. Next slide. Now, we are talking tonight, and we want to facilitate input about cycling and walking active transportation access in the community, as well as access to the transit network. I've shown some of the base information that we have, and then we know that there's a key project in the area, the McKinleyville Town Center project, that's being proposed, and the planning for that project is underway with the county directly. So there are some concept plans. We've just inserted that into our presentation, just as a reminder that we are coordinating with the county and trying to work with the county to be able to figure out how best the recommendations for the McKinleyville area can align with any plans for the town center. The development of the town center will really be led more by the private sector development, and the schedule for that often is really driven by where the economy is and the market. But at least we want to make sure that we highlight that we'll integrate with the project the best we can. Okay. And I think next slide is back to you, Jenny.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thanks.
I just want to check with Carla. I see you are doing some interpretation. Do we need to slow down? Thumbs up, thumbs down? You doing okay? Awesome. Okay. It's a good lesson for us to speak slowly so you can interpret effectively. So, okay, so we're going to talk more about existing conditions. Connecting the Humboldt Bay region and Arcata to McKinleyville, the most direct route from the south is via Wymore Road, which is a frontage road that's accessed off of Giantoli and runs parallel to 101. There aren't any pedestrian or bike facilities on Wymore, but there is very little vehicle traffic. So at the north end of Wymore is the beginning of Caltrans pedestrian and bike trail over the Mad River Bridge. It is separated from the highway. It's a huge improvement from what it used to be years ago when cyclists had to share the road with motorized vehicles. And at that time, the only safety feature was a push button activated flashing light to alert motorists that cyclists were sharing the bridge. So once you travel over the bridge now and reach the north end, you are left on your own at the junction of North Bank Road and Central Ave without any pedestrian or bike facilities. Vehicles are traveling at highway speeds coming off the freeway onto North Bank Road and Central Ave. Vehicles are also traveling north onto Central Ave from North Bank Road, and they're going at high speeds. They're pretty much concerned with traffic merging with them coming off of the highway. And so it's really scary for pedestrians and cyclists that are crossing North Bank Road and going up Central Ave. If you've never experienced it, you're going to see what it's like now.
So here we are standing at the intersection of the North Bank off-ramp on Highway 101, North Bank Road, as well as Central Avenue. And there's a lot of safety hazards here. The trail here brings you down, dumps you off, and now you've got to negotiate a lot of areas without crosswalks, shoulders are pretty poor, a lot of speeding cars. So this project is working to try and integrate and look for alternative means of being able to get through this intersection safely for pedestrians and bicyclists between Arcata and McKinleyville, especially for our children and others that are out on the streets.
So Supervisor Madrone demonstrated some of the challenges that bicyclists and pedestrians face when they get across that bridge. And once you get across the bridge and you start going north on Central Ave towards Bella Vista, there are still no sidewalks or bike lanes, just a very narrow shoulder, often with overgrown vegetation. I'm going to show a video now showing you what it's like to ride your bike up the Central Avenue.
Oh boy.
So there is a speed radar sign that's often flashing too fast, slow down, because cars are going really fast. But now we're going to hear Mary Burke and Supervisor Steve Madrone again talking about some of the challenges at Bella Vista.
So I'm standing here at Central and Henry, right at the top of the hill, and it still feels like a freeway. People are still have speeds up coming over the hill and down into McKinleyville. It's really hard to think about crossing right here. So that view says McKinleyville to me. It's beautiful, and our community is beautiful, and we want our children, ourselves, to be able to get out and walk and bike ride in our community, to be able to come up here to the businesses up at the top of Central on the south side. We want to know that we can be safe outside of our cars and transition through all parts of our community.
Well, here we are at the top of Bella Vista Hill, and as was previously mentioned, people are still going at speeds coming off the freeway. The shoulders are narrow, and we're trying to figure out how we can help people, pedestrians, bicycles, safely transition between Arcata and McKinleyville. Is that widening shoulders? Is it creating a separate pathway? We're looking to the community, we're looking to this planning effort to figure out these solutions.
So in the heart of McKinleyville is also Hiller Road. Actually, I'm going to go back here. I don't want to forget this. So we also want to talk about all of the opportunities to connect to Arcata and McKinleyville. Perhaps we have some options off of North Bank Road and Azalea.
Here we are on North Bank Road, another access into McKinleyville if you take Azalea Road up the hill. But as you can see, very narrow shoulders, if any at all, very fast speeds, it's not safe. So in this multimodal project, we're also looking to improve connectivity between McKinleyville through other routes.
So Azalea Road access to McKinleyville, North Bank Road could be an option. It is constrained. We've got a lot of beautiful riparian area over here. We've got the state parks over there. But at the same time, we have very small roadways. So we'll see what options emerge.
So then we have Hiller Road in the heart of McKinleyville, connecting the Hammond Trail and western neighborhoods to the Central Ave Business District. And here is Tom Matson of the county talking about opportunities on Hiller Road.
Hi, we're standing here on Hiller Road today, looking at our McKinleyville multimodal study to look at enhancing bicycle and pedestrian and non-motorized safety in the community. Hiller is basically at this point was designed for cars and is striped for cars, but the county has an 80-foot right-of-way here, which basically gives us a huge canvas for improvements that won't restrict vehicular use, but will greatly enhance pedestrian and non-motorized use.
So Hiller Road is also the southern border of the proposed town center development, and that's being planned for housing and business development with green space. And so one of the goals of this project is to integrate and coordinate housing and transportation planning efforts, which is why we're considering the town center in this plan to make sure that it also includes safe and convenient non-motorized access. And then School Road is another area of concern. And we're going to watch some videos with Colin Fisk of the Coalition for Responsible Transportation Parties, highlighting some of his issues on the school road.
Well, they barely gave me time to get through the intersection there. Also, the signal for the bike is on the left-hand lane, but if you go there, you can't get over to the bike lane once you turn, so you really have to be between the lanes, sort of, with cars on both sides. It's very stressful, and timing on the light is such that if there aren't cars behind you, there's not really enough time to get fully through the intersection. Really needs some work. So here we have the crossings for pedestrians and bicyclists of the on-ramps and off-ramps onto Highway 101 on School Road. And what you can see is there's a very long crossing distance for pedestrians as well as for bicyclists. It puts them at a lot of exposure to cars who are often going quite fast, coming down the School Road hill and turning onto the on-ramp or coming off of the highway on the other side. And also as a bicyclist, going uphill on the other side, people often don't stop or even really slow down coming off the highway and then turning onto School Road, and it's quite a dangerous spot for bicyclists. So this is the roundabout on School Road, and roundabouts can be pretty problematic for bicyclists because they're required to merge with cars, and often cars aren't so happy about that. And it's particularly a problem on a hill because when you're going uphill on a bike, you're going relatively slowly. The cars don't really want to wait behind you. They might try to squeeze by you dangerously. When you're going downhill, you're going pretty fast, almost as fast as the cars, but they often don't recognize that, and they'll try to cut you off, not realizing how fast you're going. And I've had some dangerous calls here, so it's definitely something that needs some improvement.
And then lastly, we want to talk about Central Avenue, which is the main business district. And there are great sidewalks, mid-block crossings with rapid flashing beacons, and even colorized bike lanes on Central for most of the way, but there are still challenges. So we are going to watch a couple more quick videos of Colin navigating his way by bicycle and by foot. The first one, he's going to be trying to make a left-hand turn into an unsignalized business on Central. And one more video. All right. We had fun doing that. So I want to just point out that we don't have time to show every issue in McKinleyville. We just really wanted to highlight, some of the main concerns that were just very glaring. And but we are going to be moving on now to the virtual engagement part of the meeting, asking you some questions so that the project team can really better understand your priorities. And so before I turn it over to Jay Riddle from Mark Thomas and Associates, I just want to explain that you're going to need to open the chat feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And so you might need to hover your mouse over the bottom of the screen. If you don't automatically see the chat feature option, you may need to click on the More button that has 3 little dots on top, and then that'll give you the option to select chat. Once the chat is open, you're going to click on that link that's been provided. It's going to open a new screen on your computer. Don't leave the Zoom. Don't close the Zoom meeting. Don't close the Zoom screen. You just want to click on that link and draw your attention to the poll questions on the new screen. And Jay is going to lead this polling activity. You should see the link in the chat. And here is the link on the screen.
Thank you, Jenny. And for anybody who prefers using their mobile phone, you can also go onto menti.com and type in the code that is on the screen. So you should now be viewing my screen, and in a moment, we're going to allow some people to hop into the polling exercise, and then we'll go ahead and move forward on the slides. And you will be presented with some questions. We'll be using a Likert scale for this activity. So on a sliding scale of 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, how much do you prioritize certain project initiatives? So we'll go ahead and get started on the first question. So from either your web browser or your mobile device, you should be able to drag the sliders across and rank how you prioritize these 3 project initiatives. And as everybody is submitting their responses, we are able to see the live rankings here on the screen. So it looks like we've had 18 responses out of, I think, approximately 25 or 26 participants. So we'll go ahead and close this question out in a second. It looks like majority of participants highly value cycling and rolling, and access to transit is a little more all across the board. We have almost equal shares of people voting it's a lower priority and it's a higher priority. And then walking and mobility devices falls somewhere in the middle, a slightly higher share of people prioritizing it a bit more. So on to the next question.
Jay, I'm having trouble sharing the chat or the link. Could you reshare it in the chat? There's someone who just joined who
Yes.
would not have gotten it before. Thank you.
I just must figure out, there we go. Okay, the link can be found in the chat. So on this new question, which you should see either on your web browser or your mobile phone, this is now a scale of 1 to 5, and we're ranking our priorities between 1, not a priority, 5, essential priority, and then 3 would be somewhere in the middle, a bit of a neutral stance on these issues. And this is part 1 of 3 questions. So in the next slide, we'll have another set of 5 types of concerns. And in the following slide, we'll have an open comment period. So we're now at 17 responses, and the average for all 6 items is a 3.9 ranking on a scale of 1 to 5 from low to high priority. Oh, we're at 18. Thank you, everyone. So it looks like we have separation from motor traffic and comfort and visibility at dark lighting conditions. Most people are falling somewhere in between 3 and 5, and concern about traffic safety and comfort while walking or biking. We have a strong number of people, or a higher majority of people, kind of leaning towards 5. We see that kind of average bar right here really swoop up towards the essential priority section. It looks like traffic noise, we have an average of about 2.7, so maybe that is not as high of a community priority, and a few people even voted it as not a priority, so that's great to know. And clarity about travel path, we are also somewhere between around a 2 and maybe a 4 or a 4.5, and a few 5s in there. So thank you everyone for submitting your responses. It looks like we now have 19, and we'll move on to the 20. Should I give this a few more seconds, Jenny, in case? So we'll go ahead and move on to the next set of traffic priorities. So we've received 17 responses so far. It appears that ability to cross the streets comfortably is a very high, is an essential priority for many of our participants today. I think that tracks very well with what we've seen in the existing conditions, photos and videos in the last section. We can see that comfort while waiting for the bus and protection from inclement weather are maybe not as high of priorities as some of the other options on the screen. I've visited McKinleyville a few times myself, and I can see why protection from inclement weather maybe is not the most essential priority. It seems to always be beautiful and lovely in the town of McKinleyville. But we also have access to bus stops and personal safety related to potential criminal activities falling along the board of 1 through 5. So some people feel it's not a priority all the way up to essential priority. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag there in terms of responses. So we would definitely love to hear more about each person's personal reasoning for why they voted on these options in the breakout sessions. And if there's anything top of mind at this moment, we welcome you to go ahead and use this next part, this part 3 of 3 of traffic conditions, to go ahead and just submit any open-ended comments that you would like to share with the project team. So far, we've received 8 responses. Looks like some comments about buses and transit, some traffic calming and slowing the speeds of motorists, maybe reducing aggressive driving, and some comments related to safer bicycling options throughout McKinleyville. So we'll go ahead and give this one another minute and then we'll close it out. We'll move on to the final question. And all of these responses will be saved for incorporation into the project recommendations.
Great comments.
And here's our final question for the Mentimeter poll. This one is related to your priorities around areas, specific geographic areas of McKinleyville, where efforts and should be focused in the project recommendations. So this is again a scale of 1 through 5, from 1 being not a priority to 5 being essential priority, and a 3 being somewhere neutral in the middle. So we've received 17 responses at this time. And I just wanted to mention that one of the reasons we wanted to do a Likert scale for this polling exercise is we can see here in improve access to Hammond Trail, as well as improve walking and biking along Azalea Avenue. We have respondents who are voting it in the 4s and 5s, but we also have respondents who are voting it around the 1. And we wanted to be able to capture everybody's opinion, even if that was not the majority. So in the breakout sessions, we'll be able to zoom into all these different areas and collect your feedback on specifically, why something is a priority, why you feel something's not a priority. We just really want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to voice their opinion on all locations throughout McKinleyville. I'll go ahead and give this another few seconds in case anybody's still voting. Thank you everyone for participating in that exercise. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll hand it back to you, Jenny.
Perfect. Thank you. That was cool. Technology is neato. Okay. So thank you so much for participating in that activity. I love being able to see that scale. Thank you, Jay, for your interpretation of that. So we're going to be going into our smaller breakout rooms now to talk in more detail about these concerns and priorities that you just indicated in the poll. We're going to be recording your input and suggestions on a map that we'll be able to refer to again for creating the plan. So you're automatically going to be assigned to a small breakout room. You shouldn't have to do anything. You can, however, click on the dialog box that pops up to be relocated, but you don't have to. Once you're in the breakout room, you're going to be unmuted. So you're going to be able to talk amongst yourselves, but please mute yourself when you go into the breakout rooms so that you're not speaking. When you're not speaking, there's no background noise. So the goal of breaking out into these smaller rooms is to have a conversation about your concerns and priorities so far, and to identify some opportunities and potential improvements. We're going to have about 20-25 minutes in the breakout room. You can bring up any concern within the project area. It doesn't have to be what we talked about so far. And then after the breakout rooms, we're going to gather again as a group to kind of report out and talk about the next steps. So you will automatically now be going into a breakout room. We'll come out of the breakout rooms at about 7:10.
Hi, Jenny. You must be in the breakout room.
I am not in the breakout room. I am in the main room.
Okay, well, this is Charlie Caldwell. I guess I'm in the main room with you still. I came in late because I'm watering. So anyway, I couldn't jump on because I was delivering the watering cart for the flowers in McKinleyville. So anyway, so I jumped in late. So maybe that's why I didn't end up in a breakout room.
We're going to keep one room in the main room here. That's so there's one group that's not going to a breakout room. But Jenny, I think I may have assigned too many breakout rooms. My apologies. Do you want to facilitate a breakout room, or do you want me to put do you want me to rearrange slightly?
I just need to open up the
My
My
maps. Okay.
Yeah. So
sorry about that. I got a little turned around assigning people.
All right.
All good.
So I'm going to stop that share, and I'm going to bring my map over so that I can share my map. And you should be able to see my screen here shortly. All right. I do need to add a layer with my name. If I could ask you to mute yourself if you're not talking, I just hear some background noise. Okay, so we have we had those questions from the poll, and so now I would like to ask you, one at a time, if you would like to share kind of your top priorities, and I'm going to make notes of them here on the map. So Charles, did you want to start with some of your concerns or specific suggestions?
Yeah, I didn't get the first few questions, so I wasn't, I didn't see what they actually were.
I can repeat them.
But anyway, my biggest, probably my biggest area, I live out on East Cochrane, so Azalea is one of my areas of concern because it is such a narrow road, and there's a lot of bike people that actually use Azalea. It's between it and North Bank Road and the highway crossing gets utilized a lot, especially for people that are commuting between McKinleyville and Arcata and Gentoli, and it's just, and those of us that mountain bike also out to Blue Lake. So those are kind of my concern areas. I also, the other area I am involved with a lot is, of course, I'm a skateboarder, so I'm downtown skating, And the way all that ties in can kind of get real crazy during the busy driving hours. So
Central Ave in general, Charles,
yeah, Central's, you know,
kind of the main
and
business
one of the
district.
nice things that's happening on Central right now is I'm seeing some sidewalk improvements. I just noticed that the other day when I was watering the flowers, that some of the sidewalks that have got really bad spots in them that are hard to skate over for a skater, those are actually being improved right now. I don't know, maybe it's just the local businesses that are doing it.
Where
I
are
don't know.
those?
There's a lot of different places on the sidewalk that runs all the way down Central. The curvy one that has real bad, where the concrete has lifted up because of tree roots and stuff. So some of them in front of Church of the Joyful Healer and the Starbucks. So I just noticed they were redoing all of that sidewalk there. That was an area that was really bad.
Okay.
So I'm not sure who's doing that, whether it's the businesses that are doing it or if it's, a community repair through MCSD.
And did you have something specific that you wanted to say about Azalea Ave, the concerns that you have? What are your specific concerns or suggestions?
There just isn't, there's no, people drive fast, first of all, which is, I'm used to that. There's just not much room for a bicycle and cars on Azalea.
Okay.
So
yep.
That's probably the biggest concern. I don't know what the correction is for that, but I know that, because we're doing this big survey about entering into McKinleyville, in and out of it, and North Bank Road, those are two between, for me, that's the way I get in and out of McKinleyville because I live on East Cochran. So I go down Azalea and out North Bank to either get to Gentoli or to get to Blue Lake. So, and those are areas I ride in on a normal basis. So.
Is something specific about North Bank you'd like me to comment?
Yeah. I would just, if there's a way, and I don't know if there is a way, but it would be nice to have a bike lane.
Great. Who else would like to share their concerns or suggestions? How about Supervisor Madrone? Did you have a comment? Or,
He might be, I'm sorry, there were some issues with moving people, so he might be unable to, he was actually assigned to a different room.
Oh, okay. And I see
temporarily there, he was a ghost.
Okay, and I see Matt is here now. Matt, is this your breakout room? You're having some tech issues. I can't hear you.
I'm not sure. I got moved out of my breakout room because it was just Supervisor Madrone and one other participant from the city of McKinleyville. So he was more interested in hearing input from the community. So
okay.
There were just minor technical errors in moving people. So Matt can co-facilitate with you if you'd like. You guys.
All right, so let's get some more comments from participants because we don't have a whole lot of time. Sandra or Oscar, do you have any specific areas, any comments, problem areas, priorities?
Sure. This is Sandra Roses. To echo Charlie Caldwell, I live off of Azalea, and the traffic, the road's really narrow. People drive really fast. There's a lot of traffic. And a lot of people kind of come up through Azalea to avoid going on parts of Central. So it's like you have a lot of through traffic. And as an avid cyclist, I ride up and down Azalea to either, if I'm coming out, basically like what Charlie says, heading to, I'm going to Arcata or to Eureka, I'm going down Azalea and then hitting North Bank Road and then getting on the bridge there. And it's just sketchy, just going, Azalea needs some, not just for bicyclists, but for pedestrians. I see people walking on Azalea and a number of the side streets, and it's I mean, it's scary. I mean, there's not much room, and these people with these big old trucks are just hauling. I mean, we have speed bumps that slow them down a smidgen if you're between the speed bumps, but where I live, it's like you're coming down, people are coming down that hill at high speeds, and they either need to slow traffic down by using more, actually putting more speed bumps. I'm serious. I mean, those speed bumps really do slow people down. I think they need to probably put more of them in there between the last speed bump, which is right on Bryan Road, and down to North Bank. And then related to North Bank, shoulders would be extremely helpful on North Bank for cycling. And then of course, if I wanted to go up, I never go up Central. It's just too crazy to even try to go up from North Bank. I just avoid that area, period, because it's too sketchy. But yeah, so that area, I mean, I cycle all over that area, and I also cycle, I get on from Azalea down to school. Oh, is it school? Not
Sutter.
school. Sutter, sorry, Sutter. And yeah, it's nice to have at least it's a kind of like a class 3 / I wouldn't call it class 2, but bike lanes. It's handy. But the intersection, what Colin was identifying is crazy. If you're trying to get from School Road onto Central to take that right onto Sutter, it's like they have the bike lane in the middle, but then you have people, so you can get trapped as a cyclist. You literally have to stay on the edge so you don't get trapped on the inside lane, especially if it turn right. It's just that intersection right there is a nightmare. It's just crazy.
And you're talking about School Road and Central, what Colin was.
Yeah, that intersection's nuts. I mean, just ridiculous.
I want to put a note there because yes.
That is just, I don't know, whoever put that, I can't believe the county let that go through. I mean, it's just a nightmare for anything other than even for cars, it's kind of a nightmare because you got people coming in from the grocery outlet, and you got people, yeah, it's just the nuts. And then of course for pedestrians in that area is just, I mean, I don't know how people, I mean, I see people that try walking. I mean, just same thing down that really are pedestrians that, I mean, are walking in that area, and you're taking your life in your own hands. Same thing, coming, I'm switching it back down from North Bank off the bridge. I mean, I see pedestrians there all the time, crossing that North Bank to go up Central. It's just, that section going up Central from North Bank and 101 is another nightmare. I mean, I've seen some really close calls there. I mean, and of course there's been fatalities there. And so you have, that's just a nightmare intersection. So yeah, improvement, shoulders on North Bank, some sort of widening, some multimodal, slowing the traffic down in Azalea. If it means like using more speed bumps, slowing people down. Signage would be, helpful because a lot of times I have, it's a steep hill coming up Azalea. So a cyclist is going slow, and then people are constantly passing you. And there's been some times that there's been almost head-ons because people are not patient enough to wait. And they try passing where there's a curve. So there's been some, close calls on that. Same thing coming down, people are coming. I mean, it's just for cyclists, and then the few pedestrians that I've seen actually go down Azalea, especially the section where like the S curve, where like Hewitt and that intersection, that's another crazy intersection. That S curve up on Azalea, where it's like, I think Hewitt goes straight, Azalea goes to the right, that's another one that needs to be straightened out. It's just kind of confusing for people.
Awesome.
So,
That is So helpful. I totally
Yeah.
agree. I almost got hit by a car on Central in school recently on my bike.
Yeah.
Let's check in with Oscar. Oscar, what would you like to comment on?
Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
I'm just really enjoying the process, and like watching the community conversation unfold. I don't bike around many of these areas because I live in Arcata. But I do think that just like extending, I saw that there was like in the first map that you guys shared, there was some use for like some biking, some recreational biking around the Valley West area or something. I think that is really good to just build that community and that culture, get more community groups out there to, use the space. So just making it, family friendly and adding small components like a water fountain in that area, I think would be really appreciated. So just small detail things, but I really just appreciate all the work that's going into this and to getting that feedback. It's good to hear the stories of people that really do rely on these roads to transport and bike around. So.
Did I capture? I want to make sure I capture what you're saying. I just got a lot in my head going on, So we want to make it family friendly and safe in the Valley West area.
Yeah. I said like maybe a water fountain if that's possible.
Water fountain. And I know we talked about a bike shelter, bike parking in a previous conversation in that area would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that's something that is a concept. People are thinking that if there could be funding for that, something like that. Again, just that infrastructure. And in the voting, I also agree that McKinleyville is in need of infrastructure too. So just investing in that, however we can integrate it into this work, I think is ideal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cindy, do you have Cindy San Filippo? Would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, I just came into the meeting, so I'm not sure what's been commented on so far, but I live in McKinleyville off of Washington Avenue, just off of School Road. And there's going to be a pretty large subdivision going in the empty 7 acres. Well, there's actually 10 there, but 7 of it will be a subdivision going in pretty soon. And we listened in on a meeting the other night about where the county passed the subdivision for it to be built, and things were talked about, and someone had asked if there was going to be a bike lane, and they're not going to put a bike lane in. And this is where McKinleyville Avenue takes a really hard turn onto Washington. We do have a crosswalk there now, which is nice, but it's kind of dangerous even with the crosswalk because people can't see you coming around the corner. But anyways, so there's bike lanes on McKinleyville Avenue, some places, which would be nice if that was all the way down. But especially School Road, a lot of people do ride their bikes here, and I'm sorry, on Washington Avenue. A lot of people do ride their bikes towards School Road, and it's pretty narrow. Both lanes are narrow, and so when there's bikes riding on it, people either pretty much have to slow down or swerve into the other lane to get around them. So we would like to see a bike lane somehow. I don't know how we go about trying to get this. We have to talk to our supervisors or.
Yes, we do. So you're saying that the developers have said that they don't have plans to put in a bike lane in the subdivision that's going on on Washington.
The county passed it saying that basically it's up to us, to the people that live there, to try and get somebody to fund it. The developer doesn't want to pay for it.
Ah, gotcha.
He is going to put in of course you have to put in sidewalks.
Okay, this is great to know. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention.
Yeah, a lot of people commented on how scary it is to ride, especially with kids, if you have young kids.
Can I make a comment really quick about School Road? We're also working on the BMX track that's going to be right on top of the hill there at School Road. So I think what
Can you
she's
tell,
saying
wait,
about
wait,
bike
stop just for a
tracks,
second. Stop just for a second. So I can get to where on School Road is the BMX going to be?
it's right on top of just past the last house off of Washington. So you have that corner house on Washington. The BMX track is going to be right on top of the hill right there.
Over here?
Yeah.
Has that actually been passed or funded? Because I know they were trying to get a grant for that, and I haven't heard.
We are
anything.
working on the grants and everything. I work with Humboldt Skate Park Collective and the BMX team.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is bike lanes in that area are very important.
Yeah, because that's going to put more traffic. People are
More-
going to have to drive
more-
there to get there.
Yeah, and more kids on the road on their bikes riding there.
Awesome.
Jenny, just a heads up, you have about 5 minutes left on the 25-minute clock. I'm
Perfect.
gonna go check with the other rooms.
Thank you. Okay, so Charles, we got the BMX track going in. Bike lanes are essential in this area because kids are going to be riding there. That is very helpful. Great. Any other comments about, does anybody have any other thoughts about sort of the connectivity piece between like what are your priorities for getting to McKinleyville from Arcata? I mean, I know we talked about widening and shoulders and the North Bank Road. Are there any other thoughts about Central Ave or other connection points that you want to bring up?
So Hammond Trail's the main connection point that is used right now. But when you get on Hammond Trail, first you got to get to Hammond Trail, which is all the way across town for people that live on Azalea. That's why I don't use it. And then once you get off of Hammond Trail, you're on those narrow farm roads before you can get to Arcata. So just where Hammond Trail drops in, sorry for the background noise, just where Hammond Trail drops in off the bridge and all of a sudden you're on these narrow roads again. There are people that are going to the beach and the farmers and cattle. So it's another area that doesn't allow the Hammond Trail to work very well for getting between the two. So that's kind of what my statement is Hammond Trail isn't a great access for Arcata, but it is the main access to Arcata if you look at the safest route for McKinleyville.
So it's not the most convenient access from McKinleyville to Arcata. It is the safest though.
That's correct.
But then and so your point, let me just make sure that I capture your point about when you are getting off the trail and you get to the Arcata narrow roads kind of in the bottoms, are you saying that you feel that it's dangerous on those narrow roads, or what was your point about that?
So the narrow roads are a little more are dangerous, but there's not as much traffic on them.
Oh,
is
gotcha.
Probably the best way to say it.
I see.
There's just enough room for a single car to go by. It's hard to pass two cars on those roads. So that's why it'd be impossible to throw a bike lane or something in there.
Gotcha.
But if there was a way of connecting where the Hammond Trail bridge drops in and the bridge is there where the water line goes across, if there was a way of connecting to the other trail that leads over to the bridge that goes across into Gentoli, that would be an option. It would take us off of those roads.
So
kind of where the bridge drops off, if there was a trail that ran along the river there, yes, underneath the highway bridge and tied into the trail that goes across the highway bridge.
So you're interested in seeing like a trail on the south levee or north levee?
It would be the north side. No, it would be the south side. You're right. Correct. The south side.
The south side. Okay. Interested because that's been talked about, a levee trail, because let's see. Interested. Wait, levee trail. So just FYI, there has been talk about potential for some kind of connection that comes off of Central Ave. Let's see, kind of by Six Rivers. I mean, and this isn't a perfect world if we don't have to worry about, you know, rights of way and land ownership, but like a trail coming down here, we would need to figure out a way across the Mad River. But then potentially they're actually thinking maybe a levee trail on the north side that would then, it would go under 101 right here. There is room right here. And then Caltrans is also has in the works right now a plan to connect Wymore Road with Hinden Road so that we can get from one side to the other. That way you could avoid Giantoli. And that would also be a connect that could potentially, you know, be a connector too. So we're thinking big. We're getting these creative juices flowing and really thinking about some of these options here. So support for a levee trail is great to know. Whoops, how come that happened? Oh, time is up for 25 minutes breakout room. Okay, so we are going to go back into the main room so that we can report out what we've discussed and hear from the other groups. Any other last comments before we close them? Thank you all for your participation. I'll see you in the big room.
You're actually in the big room right now.
Oh.
You are the big room.
I was wondering, I was like, oh, breakout rooms will close. We are the big room. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, we are the big guys in the big room and they're coming here. So we're just going to wait.
They're coming to your party.
They're coming here. We're going to wait. Okay.
Thanks for your flexibility with the tech issues.
Yeah.
Good work.
Okay. They are coming back. So I'm going to report out about interest in the trail along the Mad River levee. I'm going to talk about real strong encouragement for improvements on Azalea Avenue and North Bank Road to slow traffic and let's see, create a bike lane or shoulders and slow down people in cars. What's really neat about this too is people come back into our rooms. Let's see, do I need to do anything here, Natalie? Do I need to?
Unless you want to stop sharing your screen for a minute, but if you'd like to just keep it up, you're good.
Oh, okay. But they're all going to come back in here.
Yep, they're coming back.
They're coming back.
Most people.
All right.
It may just be the way your view is set up. There's a, I think everyone's back.
Okay, great. Everyone's back. What I'm going to try is very fancy. I'm going to refresh my screen because we should be able to see all the points from all of the rooms, which is really neat. All right, so welcome back from your report out, from your breakout rooms. We're going to report out now from each group. I'm going to ask either the facilitator or someone from your group, if somebody wants to report out, to share the main points of your discussion now. And actually, I think I am going to stop. Well, we can look at the map. We can look at the map while we do it, but I'm going to stop sharing in just a minute. So Bonnie and Mary, could you give us just a couple key points of the main priorities from your discussion?
I'll start and Mary can add what I forget. But the first issue we talked about was down in the town center area where Gwynn Road, there's senior housing at a trailer park and no sidewalks for them to get anywhere from that or even to get across Gwynn Road. So they saw that as an area that could really use some help soon because it's an unsafe situation for seniors to navigate along Gwynn. There was a lot of discussion on the entrance, the south entrance of Central down by North Bank Road, and discussed various options there. for better navigating, and whether the noise was an issue or whether it was helpful to know where cars were, or but definitely an area where many in the group felt things need to be addressed to make it safe for bicyclists and pedestrians. There was a lot of consensus that it would be a great idea to dedicate one whole lane of Central Avenue to bike and pedestrian ways. That there's a great need for making Central Avenue into not the way to get through town, but part of the town. So, and seeing that that would be a way to accomplish providing both traffic calming and providing the space for separate bike and pedestrian ways. So, and Mary, do you want to add anything?
Well, real quick, we had a runner as a part of our group, and I thought that was great to bring in a runner's perspective. Separation and noise are two of the biggest priorities along, that are kind of comfort aspects to running. Sidewalks along Hiller, especially along the town center footprint, and then also just really strong advocacy for better public transit, just all around, more frequent, better interface with bikes, and real-time notification were all things to come up. And then also just not to do noise attenuation, but that being able to hear cars, especially as we move towards more electric, is important. So that kind of consideration, both there's positives and negatives to reducing noise.
Thank you. That's so helpful. Paul, would you like to share a few pointers from your group?
Yeah, you bet. You can hear me okay, Jenny?
Yeah.
Great, thanks. So then our group, let's see, I made a few notes. There's a mixture of different things in general there. Some of the comments varied, whether it was Central Ave or Hammond Trail, also the bikeway along Bates. Some of the comments, the key things that I think I noted that I wanted to highlight for the group was, one of them was thinking a lot about how the transportation improvements would provide linkage with housing within the community and access to the destination. So not just thinking about this strictly as a transportation project, but thinking about serving new communities and new growth within the community, and really linking those improvements with that type of activity. And then we spoke a lot about Central Avenue and some of the connections with the 101 crossing, and how to really leverage that and how to improve it. And there was some key discussion about what those solutions could look like on Central Ave, but also I think a point that really resonated with me was a discussion about not letting perfect become the enemy of the good, right? There's the idea that we can come up with a grand solution, but it may require 20 years to implement, that we should certainly keep our eye on the ball for some long-term solution that is most optimal, but also identify what near-term improvements are and what types of things can be done. So for example, along Central heading down towards Mad River, that the few of the commenters said they do ride contraflow along Central when they're going southbound to avoid some of those difficult intersections and trying to find a way to make that accommodating in the best way possible. So maybe it's things like managing the landscaping or wider shoulders. If there could be some sort of barrier separation between motorists and people walking and cycling in that shoulder. And then to formalize that with some sort of long-term improvement that it has a more improved separation between those active transportation users and the motorists. So looking at kind of both ends of the spectrum of the near-term improvements as well as long-term. So those notes ended up in the line work that we have in the map there, and we'll continue talking about it with the team.
Great. Jay, do you have a couple of key points you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about the areas throughout McKinleyville, but I just want to bring up about 1 point from each specific area that I thought was very moving, very interesting, that I'm excited to work with the project team around. One of them was on Azalea Avenue. There are vehicles that are speeding, particularly after they get past the speed humps entering into that roadway, and that there's been an unusually high amount of truck volumes along Azalea. Let's see, over on Central, north of the middle school, there is the McKinleyville Trailer Park, and there are students who live in that area who are accessing Morris Elementary School, and there's no safe crossing opportunity that's within their, I guess, most direct route to school. They would have to backtrack in order to access a crosswalk. And as they are youth, they are often actually just darting across Central, typically during, before and after school, which is when commute traffic is exceptionally heavy. So some dangerous situations there. And then with Hiller, it sounds like there is community support around using the right-of-way in creative ways. We understand that speed humps could or could not be a resolution, but the community does support items like a separated bike lane, but not anything like a roundabout, because those are too challenging for pedestrians, bicyclists to move around and compete with vehicles through something like that. So those were three that I found very interesting on each of the project areas.
Thank you. And then just really quick, I was with a group and we were talking a lot about a lot of folks that are really interested in improvements on North Bank Road, widening the shoulder, slowing the speeds of traffic, adding a bike lane. Same with Azalea Avenue, that it's a winding road. It's really dangerous, not only for bikes, but for pedestrians as well. That pedestrians, it's really hard when a car passes another car, and there's a bike or a pedestrian on the road as well. So slowing speeds there. And then there was also talk about, the safest route is, over the Mad River Bridge on the Hammond Trail Bridge, but it's not a convenient route. And it would be nice to see a trail kind of along one side or the other of the Mad River levee potentially, that could connect up with Wymore Road. So a lot of really great input, you guys, from today's small rooms. I really appreciate everybody's participation and sharing. I just want to let you know that you do have an opportunity to take a survey online. There's a link here. We can put the link in the chat as well. Surveys are available in English and Spanish. Please, if you haven't taken the survey, please take the survey. Please share it with your friends, neighbors, and networks, and visit the project website. We can also put a link to that in the chat. And if you subscribe for updates, you'll be notified when we make updates to the website. And the next steps after today, we're going to really dig deep into these comments, and we're going to look at the input that you provided today. We want to hope to get more survey results in, and then we're going to take a look at all of the results and the input from the surveys so that we can develop some draft concept designs this fall and winter. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a temporary pop-up demonstration of potential infrastructure in the spring, and then we'll have another community meeting in the spring. Either we'll find out if it's going to be online or in person at that time. But in the meantime, and then we'll finalize those concept designs in the spring or summer, and the final report is expected to be completed by next fall or winter. So I just want to thank everyone for participating today. Please stay involved with the project. Like I said, share these opportunities for input with your friends and neighbors, and do sign up for project updates. And with that, it is a couple minutes after 7:30, and I'm going to end the meeting. So thank you all very much, and we will be in touch. Happy trails.